At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
All right, so you know how like almost everyone listening probably has a smartphone in their pocket?
Yeah, probably.
Well, inside that phone is this whole hidden world of APIs, and most people have no clue they even exist.
Right.
So today we're going to take a deep dive into this hidden world and why it's more important than you might think.
Okay, sounds good.
So joining us for this deep dive is cybersecurity expert Dani García Cron, and he's got these really interesting insights into the challenges and also the solutions in this space.
Oh, cool.
And he's got this great way of explaining things like in a way that like even your grandma could understand.
Oh, wow.
So
that's impressive.
So the big questions for today are like, first off, what exactly are APIs?
Yeah.
And why are they suddenly such a big deal in cybersecurity? And then most importantly, what can we do to, stay safe in this whole crazy digital world?
Oh, good questions.
So to kick things off, maybe let's try to like just explain what an API is.
Okay.
In a way that like our listeners can actually understand.
Right. So imagine you're using an app like Facebook.
Okay.
You're scrolling through your feed.
Yeah.
The app needs to grab information from a server somewhere.
Okay.
And that communication, that back and forth,
happens
through an API. You can think of it like a set of rules or a special language that allows all these different software systems to talk to each other.
Oh, okay. So like if the apps are the messengers, APIs are like the language.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're the connector.
Okay.
That power like so much of our digital world.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why they've become such a big deal in cybersecurity.
So Dani García Cron talks about this like API problem.
Yeah, he does.
What is he talking about?
So the problem is that APIs, while super essential, they can also be vulnerable.
Oh, okay.
And what's really concerning is that a lot of companies, they don't even know how many APIs they're actually using.
Oh, wow.
It's like trying to secure a house when you have no idea how many doors and windows there even are.
Right, that's scary.
Yeah.
I remember that Dani even uses this phrase like many sustos, which I guess means lots of frights.
Yeah, he does. And he's right to be worried.
Yeah.
Because the traditional ways we've been doing cybersecurity, they don't always work so well with APIs.
Okay.
They just function differently.
Oh, okay.
So we need new defenses. We need to be thinking differently about this.
So it's not just about like building higher walls.
Right.
We need a whole new approach.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings up another big question.
Okay.
Who's actually in charge of keeping these APIs secure?
Well, I would guess it's the developers, right?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
But Dani makes this really interesting point.
Okay.
That we often unfairly blame developers for vulnerabilities.
Oh, interesting.
He says we really need much better communication between the developers and the security professionals.
So it's like more of a team effort then?
It totally is.
Oh.
Developers are often under a ton of pressure
to
get stuff done quickly.
Yeah.
So security sometimes, unfortunately, ends up as an afterthought.
Yeah. That's understandable, but that's also a pretty risky approach, right?
Totally. And this is where I think Dani's approach to cybersecurity education is so cool. He's got this newsletter called Piensa en Maricruz.
Okay. Piensa en Maricruz.
Yeah, it means think about Maricruz.
Okay.
And he uses these short stories and everyday examples to break down these super complex cybersecurity concepts.
Okay, yeah.
He's all about clear communication. He wants everyone to get it, not just the tech experts.
That makes a lot of sense.
He actually says, I believe that anyone, even your grandma, should be able to understand the basics of cybersecurity.
I like that.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's all about bridging the gap between these really complex ideas and the people who need to understand them.
And this gap, it actually extends to the way we're using AI in cybersecurity training these days.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Which brings us to another really important point that Dani brought up.
Okay, so what's his take on AI in cybersecurity?
Well, he's actually pretty concerned about some of the stuff that's being generated by AI tools.
Okay.
And he's worried about the potential for misleading information. Like some of this AI stuff is just straight up wrong.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's ending up in training materials.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems kind of ironic, right? Mm-hmm. We're using AI to learn about cybersecurity.
Yeah.
But the AI could be spreading bad information.
Yeah. How do we know what's right and what's wrong?
Right. Like, how do you know if you can even trust it?
Especially if it's coming from, like, these fancy AI tools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think it really comes down to being, like, a smart consumer of information.
Okay.
You always have to be a little skeptical, you know?
Yeah.
Think critically about what you're reading. Whether it comes from a human expert or, like, some AI program.
Yeah.
You can't just take everything at face value.
Yeah.
Especially with cybersecurity.
Right.
The stakes are just too high.
Yeah, totally. It's like that old saying, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
Like, if you train AI on bad data
yeah,
or use it without, like, proper oversight,
right,
you can't really expect good results.
Nope. And in a field as important as cybersecurity, we can't afford to mess around.
Yeah.
And this need for accuracy and clarity.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
It goes beyond just AI.
Okay.
Like Dani was saying, a lot of companies, even big ones,
yeah,
they're really struggling with this whole API security thing.
Oh.
They're making what he calls fallenazos, these big messes.
Okay.
Because they just don't understand how to manage them.
So what kind of messes are we talking about here? Like, give me an example.
Okay, so think about this. Many companies don't even know how many APIs they have.
Wow.
It's like they built this huge house with tons of doors and windows,
yeah,
but they have no clue where they all are, let alone if they're locked.
That's a terrifying thought.
Right.
So it's like a basic inventory problem. They don't even know what they need to protect.
Exactly. And it goes even deeper than that.
Okay.
They often don't have the right tools
yeah,
or the expertise to properly secure these APIs.
Right.
And a lot of times, they're just not even aware of the risks.
Right.
It's like they're trying to fight a modern war with outdated weapons.
Yeah.
And that can have some pretty serious consequences.
I bet. What are some of the consequences?
Well, we've seen so many data breaches and cyber attacks that happen because of vulnerabilities in APIs.
Yeah.
Companies store so much personal information, right?
Right.
Names, addresses, credit card details.
Yeah, it's scary.
Social security numbers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a gold mine for hackers.
And that's where it hits home for everyone, right? It's not just companies losing money. Yeah. It's about our own information being compromised.
Exactly.
Which can lead to, like, identity theft and all sorts of other bad stuff.
Exactly. You got it. Yeah. API security.
Yeah.
It's not just an IT issue.
Right.
It's a business issue.
Yeah.
It's a privacy issue.
Right.
It's a societal issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, given, like, the scale of this problem, this fallenazo, what can companies actually do to get a handle on this? Like, what are some practical steps?
Well, I think it all starts with awareness and education.
Okay.
Companies really need to understand the risks associated with APIs.
Okay.
And then they need to invest in the right tools and the right training to actually mitigate those risks.
But how do we fix that communication gap we were talking about earlier?
Right. Yeah.
You know, between the developers and the security professionals.
Right. Well, that's where fostering a culture of collaboration is so important.
Okay.
Companies need to encourage their developers and their security people to work together as a team.
Okay.
You know, share knowledge, share best practices. It's about breaking down silos and building bridges. Kind of like what Dani is doing with Think About Miracruz.
Yeah, his focus on clear communication.
Yeah.
I like that. So it's not just about having the right technical tools. It's about having the right communication strategies.
Yeah, exactly. And this actually ties back to what we were saying about AI.
Okay.
Just like we need to be careful about the information that's coming from AI.
Yeah.
We also need to make sure that communication within companies is clear,
right,
concise, and easy to understand.
Right.
There's no room for misinterpretation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cybersecurity is so complex.
Yeah.
Clear communication is super important.
It is.
Whether we're talking about AI-generated training or just internal team discussions about APIs.
Exactly. It's about making sure everyone understands the risks.
Right.
And everyone understands their responsibilities. It's about creating this culture of shared understanding and accountability.
So we've covered a lot from, like, what APIs even are to how companies are struggling to secure them.
Right.
But how does all this actually affect U.S.?
Right.
Like, how does this impact our daily lives?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, whether we realize it or not,
yeah,
we're all using APIs all the time.
Really?
Every time you use an app.
Okay.
browse a website,
yeah,
make an online purchase. APIs are working behind the scenes.
So even if we don't get all the technical stuff,
right,
we're all part of this. And that means we're all exposed to those risks.
Exactly.
So, okay, let's get practical then.
Okay.
What can we actually do to stay safe in this API world?
Well, one of the easiest things is to just be really mindful of the apps you use.
Okay.
And what permissions you're giving them.
Oops.
Like, do you really need to give that new game access to all your contacts?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or your exact location? Probably not.
I know, I just click accept without even thinking.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And it's also super important to keep your devices and software updated. Those updates, they often have security patches.
Okay.
That fix vulnerabilities in APIs and other software.
So basic cyber hygiene is still important?
It is. It's like locking your doors and windows.
Right.
Just a basic security practice.
Yeah, makes sense.
And, it's also a good idea to pay attention to security news and alerts.
Okay.
Because if a company you use has a data breach,
yeah,
especially one related to APIs,
right,
they're usually required to notify you.
Okay. So stay informed and take those notifications seriously.
Exactly. Be proactive, not reactive.
Okay, got it.
Knowledge is power,
yeah,
right? The more you understand about this digital world,
yeah,
the better you can protect yourself.
Makes sense.
And if you want to learn more about API security specifically, you should check out Dani's newsletter.
Okay.
Piensa Maricruz. He's really good at explaining these complex things.
Yeah, I like that.
In a way that's easy to grasp.
Think about Maricruz.
Yeah.
So APIs, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And they're often vulnerable, but we don't have to just sit back and, be helpless.
Yeah.
We can take steps to protect ourselves.
Absolutely.
Stay informed.
Yep.
And advocate for better security.
Exactly. And remember what Dani said. Clear communication is key.
Yes.
Whether you're a developer or a security pro,
yeah, or
just someone who uses apps and websites,
right,
being able to explain and understand cybersecurity is so important.
Think about Maricruz.
Think about Maricruz.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cybersecurity, it's not about all that technical jargon.
Right.
It's about people.
Yeah.
It's about protecting our information.
I like that.
Yeah.
So as you go about your day, using your phone, browsing the web,
yeah,
take a minute to think about those APIs working in the background.
Yeah.
The more we know, the safer we'll be.
I completely agree.
Well, this has been a fascinating look at APIs and cybersecurity.
It has.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Of course. It was my pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.